RaceBot has started the countdown. Looks like both players are resetting their games right now, getting ready. And we are off. See Rupert both players taking a little bit of a safe bump against the pipe early in this race. Rupert actually taking a little bit of damage, but still making it up to the platform of clouds there and making it through the level. Meanwhile, LK at a little bit of an advantage, keeping his mushroom through that level. So Rupert will have to stop and pick up a mushroom either in 1-2 or the fortress. Looks like Rupert actually getting early P-speed, LK not getting early P-speed, but still fairly early P-speed. Rupert, you see him picking up the mushroom there in 1-2 and losing his P-speed because of it, but both players still finishing pretty close to each other on 1-2. We'll see both players enter the first fortress of the game, which has some tricky movement. See both players avoid jumping over the first rotodisc, or the waffle as most runners will call them. And both of them getting flight at almost the exact same time. They look almost in sync right now. Coming out of this first fort, they'll grab the whistle, which they hopefully will not use accidentally through this run, because that is not permitted. LK taking a little bit of a stumble there, but looks like he's getting back up on his feet. He does take a little bit of damage, loses his mushroom power there, which he'll be able to pick that up in the next stage pretty easily. But it's an unfortunate small little time loss here. Looks like both runners may have similar Hammer Bro patterns. World 1 Hammer Bro patterns not really as important. Let's see, Rupert getting that P-speed pretty effortlessly on this level. Let's hope LK does as well. LK actually doesn't. He's going to have to double back to get it, to make it over this large gap. And he actually overshoots the red Koopa, and that'll be an early death from LK. It's something you really hate to see in World 1. It can kind of get your nerves going to take an early death in World 1 in a race setting like this. Let's see if he can get it this time, and not quite. That one tile gap can make it really difficult to keep P-speed and gain P-speed, but he does make it through on a second time around, and he'll be entering the airship as well, as we see Rupert just setting foot on the deck of the airship. See, Rupert getting Fire Flower here. He's going to want to keep this as long as possible. Not quite as many opportunities in World 2 to get Fire Flower, and it is going to be the power-up of choice for runners such as Rupert and LK at this level. Rupert electing to forgo the fire kill here against Larry, and just play it safe with the 3 jumps on the head. Collects the wand. I think that was about a 342 wand grab, so we'll be able to tell about how far away LK is behind him. So let's see. Looks like about 34 seconds behind Rupert, so it's, the death really proving costly for LK there, but he'll still have plenty of opportunity to make it, to catch back up to Rupert. Meanwhile, Rupert making some good jumps on the bouncy blocks up to the top level of 2-1 and making it through the end nicely, not taking any damage. You might have seen Rupert take a little delay there before you hit the card at the end of the stage. That's just in case anyone doesn't know, that's to make sure you don't get 3 of the same card, because if you do that, it will actually, you'll get a 5-up or a 3-up or a 2-up, depending on if you get 3 of the same card, which card you get. It actually takes some more time, so you will see some runners take some turnbacks every now and then at the end of levels to make sure they don't get 3 stars, 3 flowers, or 3 mushrooms. And as I say that, LK getting his 2nd flower card, so he's gonna hopefully not have to deal with the 3rd flower card here, because that will be another small time loss. Roopert doing a good job of getting early piece speed in this first fortress, or the only fortress of World 2. And a couple little bumps, he keeps it through the 2nd room. And good job making it over the spikes to Boom Boom. And we see LK does avoid the 3rd flower card, so good to avoid the small little time loss early on. He also does double back to get some early piece speed in this fortress. He'll have some trouble keeping it through the pipe here because he did lose it just before he went into the pipe, but he will end up getting it back in this room. Meanwhile, Roopert moving on to the next stage. It's a pretty quick stage. It's just a series of well-timed jumps and then jumping on and around the Koopa to knock out the blocks at that final pyramid section. And doing a good job to skip the Hammer Brother on the overworld. That's not the Hammer Brother he wants. The only Hammer Brothers these runners probably want is the Hammer Brother that has the Boomerang Brother in this world that has the hammer, which will be used later in the run. LK taking a little bit of a safer route with this Koopa, but makes it down pretty quickly. Well, we got Roopert choosing to do 2-5 rather than 2-4. I think you're going to see most runners in this tournament choose 2-5 over 2-4. And makes it through off the final enemies, final Koopas nicely. Also avoiding a triple flower card. Meanwhile, LK making easy work of everyone's favorite childhood level, the sun level. Both players not taking damage in the sun level, so that's what you like to see. You're going to see Roopert here going into the pyramid, which is the final stage other than the airship of this world, which requires you to break down 3 different walls using the Buzzy Beetle shells, or a tail if you go into it with a tail. And does a good job of sliding under that final wall. That's a very difficult trick to learn. Roopert finishing up the pyramid, moving on to the airship. And we're going to see LK entering the pyramid. So LK about a little over 1 full stage behind. I mean, every stage, has different timing. Looks like he's trying to figure out which Buzzy Beetle he wants to pick up here. A little bit of a delay there, but he should make it through nicely now. Looks like LK actually hitting a strange pixel on that slope. Sometimes jumping onto slopes with at any speed, you can just, if you hit the right pixel, it can just stop you in your tracks. So unfortunately, getting stopped in his tracks there, but doing a good job not to let it affect him, not to lose any power-ups. Meanwhile, Roopert actually having some trouble outrunning those Bullet Bills and losing his Fire Flower. So he'll have to stop in World 3 for that. He'll probably stop either in 3-1 or 3-2 to get that Fire Flower. It makes pretty easy work of Morton there, so we'll see a 944 wand grab from Rupert. I believe we're going to see LK at about close to a minute behind here. We'll see what kind of hammer bro patterns each one of these runners gets in the overworld of World 3. That can kind of be a make or break situation with those hammer brothers. We'll see Rupert stopping to take this fire flower. A little bit slower to get, but it's probably easier to get this one in some runners' opinions. If you stop and get it in the next level, it can affect the spawning of the cheeps in the level, which can make that level pretty difficult if you're accustomed to a certain spawn pattern. Rupert is going to be going for P-speed on this level, and he does end up getting it. That's a very hard strategy. Only some of the higher level runners in this tournament are probably going to be going for that. But he pulls it off pretty nicely. Meanwhile, I haven't gotten to see the hammer bro patterns that either of these runners are getting. We'll pay attention to Rupert's right here. Pretty standard pattern from them so far. Hopefully we don't get any runaways, but it looks like they're hopefully going to cooperate. Got a little bit of lag from Rupert on my end, but it looks like he's coming back in. And he made it through 3-3 with no problem. Meanwhile, we'll see LK going for the much easier strat for 3-2. But actually taking a hit because that may have been just a weird hitbox registration with the cheep there. See Rupert grabbing the hammer right there. She will be using after 4-3, and he'll have another hammer to use later at the beginning of World 6. You really want to fight both hammer brothers. If you can only fight one, and the other one gets to a place where you cannot fight him before you have to cross one of the overworld bridges in this world. And we see him, actually, Rupert hitting one of those pixels I was talking about earlier there. And he recovers nicely, though. But if you can't fight both hammer brothers, you will have to take an intentional death or play an auto-scroller. So the intentional death is actually the quicker strat in most cases. While LK making quick work of Boom Boom with fire. You'll see Rupert uses Cloud right there and go over one of the overworld bridges. If he hadn't fought both hammer bros, then that overworld bridge would be up and he would not be able to cross over it. This level is a pretty easy level once you know what you're doing. But if you do die in this level, you have to go back before the level you used your Cloud on, and it can really be detrimental to the run. We see Rupert doing the small turn back to avoid the triple star there. It looks like LK may be hitting the same slope pixel that Rupert did. See if Rupert can pull off this H-jump in 3-9. Looks like a good setup, but he just overshoots the last brick that he needed to land on to do it. So he'll be forced to break all these bricks the slow way, rather than going over the H and all the white bricks. Good hammer bro overworld patterns from both players. LK, you'd be able to use his Cloud there. As long as he can make it through this stage without any problem, he will be on his way as well. See if LK can get his P speed up and maybe make this H jump. And he does. He sets up perfectly for it and makes it. So that's going to be a few seconds gained on Roopert. But we'll still wait for the wand grab. We'll see what that puts both players at. So you really want to enter Wendy's room on the airship with fire, because she can be quite dangerous if you don't. It's a lot easier and a lot quicker to kill her with fire. Every jump you do on her will cause her to jump much higher in her next cycle, in her next phase, while launching projectiles around the room which do not despawn. So you really would want to make it into that room with fire, as we saw Roopert do. Didn't quite see the wand grab time. I'm going to guess it was about a 16, 18 maybe. Meanwhile, Roopert making his way on into World 4, Big World. We're going to see him do a shell strat here to gain P speed. He ends up doing it. Had to do a little turn back to get it, and he's electing to play it safe here. Didn't really feel good about that pattern that he was getting. Meanwhile, LK taking out Wendy. Maybe about 50 seconds, 52, you know, somewhere between 48 and 52 seconds behind, I'd say. So maybe making up a little bit of time on World 3. Roopert doing a great job on 4-2 right there. Can be a pretty hectic level with all the cheap chiefs flying around. But he gets through nicely. Well, Roopert will be going into my personal favorite level, and a lot of players in this tournament's favorite level, 4-3. Some very nice rhythmic presses in this level, A presses and jump presses. I didn't want to curse him too much. It does look like he takes a little bit of damage at the end, but that's not going to stop him from making it through. He'll have a couple opportunities, I believe, to pick up Fire Flower before the end of this world. It's like LK playing a little bit slower and safer on 4-2. But does know his jumps right at the end of the level. Roopert actually going for the second Lakitu jump in this water level, the only water level in this world, which will save him some time. It's a pretty tricky jump, which you can actually lose your power up on if you're not careful. We'll see LK going into 4-3, another very technical stage. And actually taking some damage and falling into the pit there. The stream lagged out for me a little bit, but I did see him fall into the pit. He'll have to fight this Hammer Brother small, which will be fine. 4-3, a world or a level that's pretty difficult to do as Small Mario if you've never practiced it. So we may see a more casual approach on this time playing through 4-3. It looks like LK taking another death to the falling Buzzy Beetle right there. He may want to take this a little bit more slowly. He's not used to playing this as Small Mario. Meanwhile, we're going to see Roopert in the second fortress of this world, but the first one that you'd actually see in this run. And that's where he's going to have his chance to pick up his fire flower, which he does. LK picking up a mushroom there, avoiding a falling, spinning spiny shell. I just want him to take it a little bit easier through here to make sure he makes it through this stage. And it looks like he is going to make it through, not without taking some damage at the end. Meanwhile, Roopert moving on to the airship already. Luckily for you, Ant Foolish, it's your 150-word essay due tomorrow. Roopert has now entered one of the longest stages in the game, which takes a very long time to complete. It's an auto-scroller that moves at half the speed, so you may have enough time to write 150 words before Roopert is finished with this. Meanwhile, LK getting sniped by Lakitu in the water level. That's a pretty common thing to happen. It's kind of tough to go into this level as Small Mario. See him missing the bounce to skip over Lakitu there. But really going into this level, it's really hard to change your momentum in a water level. And if you see a Lakitu throwing a spiny at you, it's pretty much lights out if you're Small Mario. There's usually not a lot you can do to avoid it. He does make it through this time, though. Meanwhile, Roopert still in this very long auto-scroller. If you're a fan of the Resident Sleeper global Twitch emote, now's the time to use it. Plenty of time to take a nap, go use the restroom, go get a snack, go get a beverage, or write a 150-word essay. LK spawning the star there, wanting to get the star, but not able to get over the big Goomba before getting it. LK getting a little bit tripped up in World 4. There's some interesting strats. It's probably one of the most difficult worlds strat-wise since World 1 in this run. At least for me it is, so... See, Roopert getting about the 2245 wand grab. LK with the star actually falling down into the pit. So what do we say? A 2245 for Roopert. We'll see what LK is at after he can make it through here. I'm pretty sure he'll make it through this time. Yeah, it looks like he's going to make it through just fine on this try. So one more level for LK before he gets to the auto-scroller. Meanwhile, Roopert making his way up the mountain in 5-1, wanting to avoid the nippers, as I like to call them, the killer onions, because they look like onions. Somehow that chomp kind of reaching out, and the chain chomp kind of reaching out and taking Roopert by the foot, taking his fire flower away. I've never quite seen anybody lose a power up there, but he'll be moving on. I guess the fastest place for him to get fire will be, I think, in 5-6 or maybe 5-7. Meanwhile, he's making it up these bricks, not falling down in the bottom of that level in 5-2. If you do, that's a severe time loss, which many people have speculated it's actually quicker to just take a death and try the level over. But Roopert making it through just fine. Roopert going to play through the ground fort of World 5 now. Not waiting on the Podoboo, just going to go right for it. This is a pretty cool level, just the way everything works out in the right cycles if you keep P-speed through the whole level. And Roopert does it beautifully. Rupert using his music box right now to put the Hammer Brothers to sleep. And move right onto the spiral fort, as I like to call it. It's like a spiral in the overworld. Another difficult level to keep P speed through, but he does it really well through rooms 1 and 2. Mostly hard to do it through this room, if you ask me. Rupert elected to just give away his P speed there. And he'll have 2 more rooms, including the one he's in now. And then he'll climb up a vine and he will make it to the sky portion of World 5. Doing a good job not stumbling on any of these platforms. Some of these spinning platforms can they like to eat your jump inputs at times. So Rupert doing a good job to make sure none of his inputs get eaten there. Well, okay, getting the wand grab at about 26, 28. I believe that's about 2.5 minutes behind Rupert, if I'm correct here. Rupert making his way into 5-7. That'll be the easiest place. We'll probably see him grab his fire right here, and we do. Some players may elect to wait until the airship to grab fire. You don't really need fire between this point and the airship. No strats that really require it. And the airship in this world does have a fire flower in it. Speaking of fire flowers, we're going to see LK lose his in the same level that Rupert lost his. So we'll see if he gets his fire flower in the same level. And he will actually have to stop for a mushroom beforehand as well, taking another hit right before the end of the stage. Rupert doing a good job to avoid any potaboos there, avoid the lava, avoid all the enemies in the sky fort. Another really cool level to learn. Oh, unfortunately, we see LK almost making it to the top, and now he's falling down in this pit of despair in 5-2. We'll see if he elects to go through the rest of the level or if he will take a death. And it looks so far like he's going to play it. So this will be a unfortunate, severe time loss for LK here. It's not something you want to see in a tournament setting. Meanwhile, Rupert jumping over the pipe here and having to clear out some spinies before he can make it into the pipe. We will see Rupert cloud over 5-9 and go directly to the airship. LK electing to use a star going into this level, maybe just for some extra safety. He may be thinking about some errors that have led him to be where he is at this point. Wanting to make sure he just makes it through that level pretty easily. You see Rupert collect the extra fire flower for extra points in good measure here in the airship. LK getting his P-speed into this first pipe to the spiral fort. And he should be okay through this room as well. Rupert doing a good job to bounce off the cannonball onto the top of this section here in the airship. It's a section you really don't want to be in the bottom part of the level for, because just cannonballs flying from every level can be pretty difficult to avoid unless you are really familiar with the pattern. We'll see him make his way into the Koopaling room. And electing not to do a fire kill on Roy, but getting the 3 bops on his head easily. Roy is the one of two Koopalings in this game which can actually stun you in place. If you're standing on the ground when they land, they will shake the ground and Mario ends up being stunned. It can be very difficult to get out of that stun lock. Okay, electing to get his mushroom back here, which I think is a good decision. He makes it through that stage pretty easily. We'll see Roopert use his hammer right here. Fight these Hammer Brothers, then he will take a double damage boost early in the first fortress of World 6. Meanwhile, LK electing to get a little bit greedy on these Hammer Brothers and try to kill one, but take some damage in response to that. See, Roopert has to ride this platform up a little ways, then he will jump onto these spikes, and he'll run across and take 2 damage boosts before jumping off of them. That's way quicker than actually riding the platform all the way across. We're also going to see him do something else interesting here, which is grab the star, and everybody say, "Hi, Boom Boom." Bye, Boom Boom. That easy. It actually overflows Boom Boom's health and spawns an upside-down orb in the middle of the room. Seeing LK get P-Speed in the Sky Fort here. A couple little turnbacks, but makes it through that stage relatively effortlessly, it looks like. So that's what we like to see from LK. Roopert remembering smartly to take the P-Wing before going into this stage. This is one of only, I believe, 2 stages in the run that require you to actually fly vertically, so we'll see if he gets the despawn. I think he messed up on the despawn a little bit. Yeah, he did. But he'll be able to carry the shell up there anyway. So the other stage just requires you to fly vertically will be in World 7. It will be the first fort of World 7, which you'll most likely see both players use a P-Wing for again. Meanwhile, LK making his way into this airship of World 5 now. Roopert skipping over a Hammer Bro to get this bro with the cloud. Hopefully this other bro doesn't move in his way. He should stay out of his way. Okay, he does. Oh, he's going to fight him anyway. So this Hammer Bro going to give him a star, I believe. Yep, so Roopert must have an extra star routed into his run. We'll see where he uses it. He uses a second hammer right here to break that brick. Or the stone, rather, blocking the path. And into the ice fort. He is going to take the tricky route here at the bottom. Let's hope he makes it, and he does. That's a very tricky to get that last flight skip in the second Fortress of World 6. Roopert does it effortlessly, it seems. Well, okay, managing to bounce up at the top here of the last part of this auto-scroller, but not without taking a little bit of damage first. Let's hope he doesn't get stun locked by Roy here, because that will be very difficult for him if he ends up as Small Mario at any point of this. And he does get all 3 hits nicely. Roopert making it through a stage which you can actually do a wall jump over. Roopert electing to use the P-Wing, which is what you're going to see most runners do, I think. A lot easier to just use the P-Wing to fly over the stage. The world record of any percent warpless Mario 3 is 50 minutes and 55 seconds achieved just about 3 months ago by Mitch Flowerpower, who is also in this tournament. I believe you're going to be seeing him. I can check the schedule. You're actually going to be seeing Mitch race tomorrow against Supersonic at 8 p.m. Eastern. So if you're interested in seeing the world record holder, tune in then. Roopert making his way through the third fortress. Another tricky fortress. Taking a few damage boosts to get through there, but he's making his way onto the airship of World 6. You're going to want to see Roopert. He's going to grab a mushroom in this airship and try to keep it all the way through the end, through the Koopaling fight, into 7-1. If he goes into 7-1 as Small Mario, it's going to be a big time loss for him, and you'll see why coming up soon. Roopert making his way through this level, wanting to avoid all the fire. He will be able to pick up his mushroom here. And it's critical that he keeps this mushroom into the next stage. Meanwhile, LK we see actually going for and getting the despawn on the Killer Onion, or the Nipper rather, in 6-5. One more hit for Roopert, and he does make it through his mushroom. It's a pretty easy kill to do, but always a little nerve-wracking knowing that you have to keep that power up, and if you don't, then the run, if you're going for a PB attempt, your run may pretty much be over if you're at the level of either of these players. So Roopert, what he's going to attempt to do, which you can only do as Big Mario, is he's going to clip through the wall just above the door in the beginning of 7-1, and it's going to skip the entire stage. We'll see how many tries it takes him to get. You hope to see it in between 1 and 3 tries. I mean, obviously, less tries the better. Meanwhile, LK picking up the Hammer Bro suit here, or the Hammer suit. So we are going to hopefully see a Hammer suit kill on Bowser from LK. I believe we're at 4 attempts for Roopert right now. I don't want to count out loud because I don't want to curse him. This is actually, he does get it in about, I believe that's 7 or 8 attempts. Wasn't quite counting there, but it seemed like about 7 or 8. Definitely, even with the multiple attempts that he took, that will save time over playing this level 7-1. It's a vertical scroller. You kind of have to jump on different platforms. It's very tough. We're going to see him use a star right here before going into 7-2 and do a very tricky P-speed setup here, which he does get. We'll see if he keeps it. There's a big gap he needs to get over. And takes a little bit of a stutter, but gets over the big gap just fine. We may see a damage boost towards the end here. And that should be just fine. He makes it in the final pipe. If not, you actually have to go into that big gap and spawn a bunch of bouncy blocks to make a bridge to get over that gap. But with P-speed, it's no problem. Again, very hard to set up that P-speed setup, but Roopert does it wonderfully. Roopert having a really good run right now, it seems. Roopert bouncing on Koopas, bouncing on Lakitu here at the end of 7-3. Making it through a Small Mario, no problem. We will see him P-wing up before the next stage. He'll cloud over 7-4, you see here, because it is a auto-scrolling water level, which no one wants to play. And we will see him use a P-wing before the next fortress. It will be the last required flying of the run. Meanwhile, LK making his way into Boom Boom's lair in the last fortress of World 6. And we'll see him move on to the auto-scroller as well. We'll see if Roopert goes for... I believe he'll use another P-Wing before this next level to fly over it. You can also do a clip in the beginning of this 7-6. But yeah, it looks like he is going to P-Wing up. Much easier strat. But you can also clip through that door at the bottom, similarly to 7-1, and make it through. You may see some runners do that in the tournament. I don't think I've seen it yet, but it's also a viable strat if you feel comfortable with wall clipping. That's a good question in the chat. Could Rupert have done that castle with a normal leaf? Yes, there's plenty of room in that fortress to build up piece speed, but Rupert unfortunately didn't have at this point in the run, you wouldn't have a normal leaf power-up in your inventory unless you went to one of the toad houses. So just getting the P-Wing instead gives you the leaf automatically, so that's why he chose the P-Wing instead of a leaf. There's also a place in that fortress where you can get the Tanuki suit, but it takes a lot of time, so it's easier to just use the extra P-Wing you get from fighting Hammer Bros earlier in the run. We did see Rupert cloud over 7-9, not electing to go for the wall clips there, or the maze, and making his way through, hopping on each pipe. Very good in this final fortress of World 7. LK also making it through the Lemmy fight with his mushrooms, so we'll see him attempt the clips as well. We're going to see Rupert use his music box in this overworld to put the piranha plant on the overworld to sleep. They work similarly to Hammer Bros. You can see them right there. They're forced encounters basically, but they don't move like Hammer Bros do. They're fixed on the map. But the music box will work on them just as well. There will be 2 power-ups for Rupert in here, which are both fire flowers. Well, the first will be a mushroom since he's small, but he will have the opportunity to get out of this auto-scroller with fire flower power. Let's see, okay, taking the tries to clip through the wall here. I haven't kept count of how many there are, but there is a little bit of luck involved. It's sub-pixel dependent if you don't have P-speed. We see him making it through there. I didn't see how many tries that took him, but undoubtedly still faster than actually playing the stage. We'll see if he goes for the same star P-speed strat that Rupert went for in 7-2. It looks like he's going to. The other option here is to actually just use a P-Wing, and you can just fly over that big gap in the middle of the level. Looks like a good setup and a good launch from LK. He will make it over just fine. And despawns the last piranha plant. So he'll be going into the next level as Big Mario. No real advantage there, but maybe nicer to be able to take a hit in the next level. Well, I'm taking a peek over at Rupert's stream. It does look like he is about 22 seconds ahead of PB pace. So we could see a PB on our hands here. It does look like he had one hand in World 8 in his PB. So if he gets one hand or less, then that's gonna be good for him if he can hold it out here. Yeah, Rupert is ahead by a fair bit here going into World 8. Rupert doing a little bit to despawn some lag. If you can manipulate these bombs in this level to actually kill each other here. by holding one and let another bomb hit it, you can actually get rid of some lag that is in the game if you don't do that. Can be a tricky strat. I don't know if he's actually doing it right now. We might actually just see this later in the stage where it actually causes more lag. Or he may not go for it at all. Yeah, race is never over until it's over. So, definitely not calling this one yet. Like, LK is electing to play 7-9, not going for the clips. He's just going to use a P-Wing and fly over the level until he has to actually go into the maze part here. We'll see him navigate through the maze. Roopert making it through the first auto-scroller here. It may seem like some of these levels at the beginning of World 8 are kind of gimmies, and for runners of the caliber of both of these runners, they kind of are. They kind of know what to expect. They do the same thing every time, so they should get the same result every time. The problem with these levels is because they are so slow and take a while, if they get really comfortable in them with the slow speed that they're moving at, something bad could happen. They could end up with 3 hands, and the other runner end up with nothing, and we could have a really close race on our hands. Any small mistake could be very costly at this point. Nerves another big factor, especially if you make one small mistake that can snowball. Meanwhile, you gotta love it when both players are in an auto-scroller at one time. Not a whole lot to talk about. Roopert's going to be making his way to the hands now. We'll see how many he gets. Keep in mind, his PB does have 1 hand. So if he gets 1 hand or less, then he's going to be on pace or be ahead of his PB by even more than he already is. He does get the first one. That is probably the worst one to get in my book. But he's doing a good job of navigating his way through here pretty quickly. Some runners may say the third one's the worst one to get with a lot of flying cheaps. So this should keep him on the same pace he's on. He does get the second hand. This is a very easy one to deal with, but it's unfortunate he's having to deal with that extra time loss. Yes, runners are allowed to watch this restream. The only time they're not allowed to is in a randomizer setting, usually. Roopert, unfortunately, getting the third hand there. The good news is he's kept his Fire Flower, so he doesn't have to stop here for Fire Flower. Yeah, the only time you'd be at an advantage in watching a race with the competitors if it's a randomizer. In this case, both players playing through the same game, the same levels in the same order. So no real advantage of knowing what levels are ahead of you. Meanwhile, Roopert making his way through the fastest auto-scroller of the game, which can be pretty tough if you haven't practiced it. This is one of the few auto-scrollers that may require a little bit of practice from some runners starting out. You really want to stay towards the front of the screen and avoid or kill these rocky wrenches as soon as you see them. If you can prevent them from shooting anything or throwing a wrench at you, that's even better. But this level, all about knowing what's coming up next and when it's coming up. I've not seen that because there are only 3 hands in the game. There are a lot of people that P-wing this level, the airship, the first airship in World 8, or the only airship in World 8. No real time loss if you know where to get on the pipe, where to stop flying. So the most hands a runner could get in this game is 3 per runner. Roopert doing a good job to get P-speed here. Let's hope he keeps it. He does keep it all the way through. A really, really good job at 8-1 for Roopert. It's a very tough level. Meanwhile, we're seeing some of that lag we talked about with the bombs and the first auto-scroller of 8 with LK. Meanwhile, Roopert making his way into 8-2, where we see the return of the sun. The sun not really a problem until the last final jump in this level, where you can end up landing right on top of his head. Roopert taking an early jump here to hit the bouncy block, avoids the sun, makes it through, and that is the last stage, which will finish with a card. We're going to see 3 more stages from Roopert, including this final fortress of the game, before Bowser's Fortress, that is. The bigger thing about P-winging the Air Force in World 8 is that you have to pick up an extra P-wing in your route somewhere, and that's the real time loss. So about 15 seconds lost from fighting an extra Hammer Bro that you may not have to fight otherwise. Not necessarily a time loss in World 8, but maybe a time loss in World 4 or 5. Meanwhile, Roopert making quick work of this fortress. It looks like he is going to be making his way onto the super tank, where he's going to elect to go the top route. If you bounce on a cannonball early in the level, you can actually bounce up to the top and just kind of walk through the top halfway through for the first half of the level. That's correct, yeah, picking up fire afterwards could be a time loss in the fortress, but certainly less of a time loss than having to fight an extra Hammer Brother to get an extra P-wing into your route. But that's definitely a good point. Roopert failing to pick up this bomb here. You might see slightly different strats for every different runner on different levels. Even the auto-scrollers. It's funny to kind of see what each runner does on each one of those levels. So we are going to see LK getting 2 hands moving onto the Air Force here with fire, just like Roopert did. Meanwhile, Roopert making it into the final stage of the game here, Bowser's Castle. Going for the clip, getting the wall clip. So I don't know if he had that in his PB, but that's going to be a few seconds of time save right there. Yeah, I don't think Roopert's going to be on PB pace. It's going to be close, but I don't think so. I don't know what kind of World 8 he had in his PB, so he's not keeping P-speed through this final room, so that's going to cost a few seconds. He'll take it safe. Just wants to get to Bowser at this point. And he will enter this door and go to Bowser's final room. We should see a fire kill here. Hopefully Bowser's going to be nice to him, give him a good pattern. And it looks like he is. And Roopert finishes off Bowser. He's going to get a sub-55 race time. You can see he just ticked into the red there on his timer, so this is not a PB, but it's close. Should be about 14-15 seconds off PB. GG to Roopert. And that is a race personal best by 25 seconds for Roopert. So the best time he's ever completed a race in. We'll see if we can get him in here for an interview. Rupert, usually one who's willing to join for an interview, so hopefully we'll get to speak to him, ask him what he thinks about his run tonight. Very, very awesome for a runner to get 3 hands and only 14 seconds off their PB, especially a runner of this caliber, a runner with a 54 as their PB. So that's really awesome to see. Another big GG to Rupert. Meanwhile, LK making his way through 8-1 here. He's only got a few levels left as well. He's not too far behind. Had a few hiccups early in the run and throughout the run, but he's done a good job to stick with it. Let me actually check on LK here. And it looks LK is going to be close to a PB. His PB again, 58.29. But I don't know if he's going to be able to pull this one out. It's going to be close. But both runners competing very closely to their PBs. Looks like Rupert just about to step into the booth with me. LK making the 1 cycle on the P-switch there in the final 4 to the game before Bowser. Seeing a nice little slide from LK there. And he will make his way into the super tank. We're going to see what strat he uses. Meanwhile, we're joined by roopert83. Rupert, GG.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's, I think that was about 14, 15 seconds off your PB.
Yeah, it's just about 15.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I got all 3 hands, so that did not play out very well for me. But I guess overall, it's actually fairly pleased with the performance in my run. It wasn't superb by any means, but I felt like I played okay.
I know I enjoyed watching it, and I think everybody in chat enjoyed it as well. Yeah, I kind of checked going into World 8 what your splits were, and I did see the one hand on your splits, and I was like, okay, so we know he's about 20 seconds ahead going to World 8. We'll see how many hands he gets, and of course, in a run like that, of course you're going to get all 3 hands. It's just the way it works.
That's how it works. You get 0 hands when the runs are already dead, so that's how this game works.
Right, yeah. But it's still to be only less than 15 seconds off a PB and getting 2 extra hands. That's, I guess, was there some extra time save in World 8 that?
Yeah, I think my performance in my PB for World 8 was not that great. I think 8-1 probably kind of. I may have had some other issues along the way. I have to go back and review it, but considering that I had 2 extra hands and only about 15 seconds behind. Yeah, my World 8. I felt overall World 8 on this run.
Yeah.
This spot.
It seemed like a pretty good World 8, a really good run all the way around. Was there anything of note that you noticed? I mean, it seemed like a pretty clean run to me. I don't remember any deaths, but were there any that you can recall?
No, I didn't have any.
That's great. That's what you like to see for sure.
There were a few levels that really did not exactly go my way, and some of the levels I played kind of safe, like 5-2, the beginning of that, I played that pretty safe. I can usually get that strat, granted consistently, but the last couple of runs I did, kind of failed it. Really don't want to go for the bottom of that level, so I decided to play that safe. I didn't have to use the extra hammer bro with World 6. I volunteered to do that extra one, so I could have the extra stars in World 8.
Let's see. Meanwhile, we got LK just finishing up about 5 minutes behind with a 59.51. Did manage to get the hammer kill on Bowser. So we'll see if he's going to join us in here for an interview. That was also an SRL official time of 59:51. I did notice that was a race PB for you, Rupert. So maybe not an RTA PB, but
race PBs often always nice as well.
I'm asking LK right now if he wants to get in here for an interview as well. Meanwhile, let's see. That is going to mean that Rupert is going to move on. Let's see here. Where are you on this bracket? Rupert's going to move on to face the number 4 seed Outside Lutz next week. Any thoughts about that?
Definitely gonna have my work cut out for me for that one.
Yeah, Lutz is.
Lutz is. I haven't seen him around a lot, but he was around a lot when I first started speedrunning. So he's he's the number 4 seed, but he's a really good player. And I expect a huge challenge to when I face him.
Yeah, I believe correct me if I'm wrong. Was Lutz actually a world record holder in this category at one point? Or
I think he did at one point. I think he may have had it for a while.
I think I was checking the statistics on speedrun.com this week just to see who had held it at one point. I want to say his name popped up there on the stats page. I may be remembering that wrong, but I think he did. It looks like in Lutz's first race, he did put up a 1 hour 58-second run. So we'll see if he prepares any before his next race with you. But it looks like we're not going to get LK in here for an interview. LK from Japan, not a native English speaker, so not comfortable speaking for an interview. But GG to LK as well.
Yeah, GG to LK. Glad to see him for this tournament.
Yeah.
All of the runners in these tournaments as well. So I had a great time with the Japanese community. So it's great to see him.
Yeah, certainly glad to have them here running in this tournament, representing a few different countries from around the world. U.S., Canada, Japan. I believe we have an Italian runner. I'm not sure who all else, but it's really nice to get everybody in here. Of course, Quite Super Mario from North Ireland. That's all I can really think of off the top of my head, but it's good to have everybody represented. Let's see. I'm going to look at the Speed Gaming calendar. We are on Speed Gaming 2 right now. And it looks like what's coming up next for Speed Gaming 2. I don't see anything else coming up for Speed Gaming 2 for the rest of the evening. But actually, let me check the schedule again. Yeah, nothing else on Speed Gaming 2 that I'm seeing on the schedule for the rest of the evening, but we do have on Speed Gaming going on right now the Super Mario World Randomizer Interactive Race. So if you're wanting to see some more Mario action, tune on over to that to Speed Gaming, twitch.tv/Speed Gaming. Rupert, any final words before we close this up?
I enjoyed the race, and I just have a little practice work to do for the race for next week.
All right. Well, we will look forward to seeing you in your race against Outside Lutz. I guess that's going to do it for us. So thanks for joining us. We will kick it back on over to the Speed Gaming crew, and we'll see you guys later.